purchasing, invoicing, and packing lists. Whether you manage someone else's money or your own, there are three things that are very important. First is a purchase order. If you're going to order something for a company, the company you call is going to ask you for a purchase order number. This lets you control what the company orders. You can see here the purchase order number. This number helps your company control what is ordered. This here is the order that your company has made. The next thing we're going to look at is a packing list. If you have ever ordered anything from a mail order catalog, you have received in that box a packing list. Companies do the same, and it is a list of everything you've ordered, which you should check off to make sure you've gotten everything. Another packing list may look like this depending on the company. Notice that sometimes if the order does not come in right, you would circle what is missing in a company to highlight that. Finally, we have an invoice, and an invoice is another name for a bill. This here is a blank invoice form. Most companies will make this out in triplicate. That means there's 3 copies, usually done in 3 different colors. One of the copies is an original, kept in the office for their records. The second copy may be, if someone comes to pick it up, they may have to sign for it to prove that they actually picked up their goods. The third copy is the bill that gets sent to the customer. The customer then pays that bill, sends the check to the company they ordered it from, and the original copy gets marked off paid in full. Let's look at an invoice here. Our account number can be found in the upper left corner. If you have ordered a lot from a business, you usually have an account number with them. If it's your first time, they'll establish an account number for you. This is the invoice or the number of the bill. This is to help the business keep track of who owes what to them. The customer purchase order is listed here. We have our date. It was shipped UPS. And the terms, net 30 days, means you must pay this bill within 30 days. We now have some columns here. The item number, which means nothing to us, means a lot to the business. But that's why they have a description, so we know what we ordered. Here's our item number, quantity 3, that tells us how many we ordered. And we ordered 3 1/4-inch drills at $1.35 each. So since they were 3 at $1.35 each, I would multiply 3 times $1.35, and that amount would be filled in here. When you get sent an invoice, this should be filled out for you because it is a bill that you have to pay. If I look at my second item, we have a quantity of 4 at $28.50 each, but we're getting 5% off. So we're going to multiply the 4 times the $28.50, but then we get to subtract 5% so that we can get a price here. On our next item, it would be 12 times $4.98 minus 10% to get our price. 3 times $16.95, no discount there. 6 times $14.95 minus 5%. And 1 times $28.50. This is 1 complete unit, and that gives us $28.50 there. All of this would be added up to give us a subtotal. Our shipping and handling charges are $7.95, and these are usually determined by the company. 8% tax, add those together, you get a total that you have to pay, and you have 30 days to do so. Looking at our second invoice, we have the same categories going across the top. The account number, the invoice number, the customer purchase number, the date. This was shipped by air, and our terms, 1% for 10 days. That means if you pay this bill within the first 10 days, you can subtract 1% off the total. That may not sound like a lot, but it adds up. If this is a large bill, it would be a large amount. And when you're talking about big businesses, many of these bills come out to be large bills. Otherwise, you have to pay it within the 30 days. Again, we have our item numbers and our quantities. We have 5 at $3.48, Each, we would multiply and subtract our 5%. 3 times $5.06, no discount there. 3 times $4.26, and if you notice, this is per dozen, so you're actually getting 3 dozen pencils, 36. So 3 times $4.26 minus the 5% to get your total there. In a box of envelopes, you get 500 envelopes, but you only pay for the one box. So it's 1 times $6.48 minus your 5%. 1 times $4.35, 6 times $8.45 minus 10%. Again, you would add these items to get your subtotal. Shipping and handling is there for you. Multiply by your 7.25% for tax, and add these 3 items to get your total. Hopefully, these examples have helped you learn a little bit about businesses and the way they take orders, ship things, and then bill their customers.
We have a publishing company, and I'd like to speak to you about what happens when we get an order for books. And the orders come in through a fax machine, and this fax machine is also a printer. We can also get them through email, through the computer. We can get them on the phone. Over here's a phone here that someone calls up, and also through the mail. So when they send it to us, that's a purchase order. Now we have a purchase order right here in this fax machine. And this is from Follett Library Services. So they tell us the books that they want to order from us. Then we take this purchase order and we go to our computer and we type it in, and we get now a packing list. So this is a packing list. We'll list all the books. And so now we're going to show you them. We're going to go back where we package our books, and then I'd like to speak to you about also what happens after we pack the books. We're in our shipping department, and we have this packing list that we produced from the fax order from Follett Library Services. So from this packing list, the person removes the books from the shelves and fulfills the order carefully. And after the boxes are filled up, either we take the packing list and put it inside the box, or we can also have a packing list enclosure, and we can fold up this packing list and put this on the outside of the box. And then we can ship it either UPS, FedEx, or through the Postal Service. All right, now what happens after the customer then gets this package of books? And one of the first things they do, if the packing list is on the outside of one of these boxes, they will remove the packing list. Now the packing list doesn't have prices on it, and so what they'll do then, they'll check when they open up the boxes and put a check mark over every item that they received. And then they will say, okay, everything is perfectly right, the checks are right, we received them. Then this goes to the office in Follett. And what do we do then? We make an invoice. Now we have a duplicate invoice, one we keep and one we send to Follett, our customer. And so now they get this in the mail, and in the office they have this packing list that was checked. And so the office then from Follett goes and compares, did we get all these items? And that's important. So the invoice and the packing list has to match. And usually they pay within net 30, sometimes some companies take 60 days. And net 30 means they should pay within 30 days. And when this matches, they will then write a check and send it to us, paying for what they have purchased. And so that's what happens with it. When we get a purchase order, and then from the purchase order we make a packing list, and we put the packing list inside the boxes, and then we send an invoice, and when it matches the packing list and the invoice, then they pay us.
Please pause the video now and complete the problems in your workbook. When finished, press play and we'll continue with the next lesson.